A good place to start our second semester is to go back and review some content from the first semester as a review. So we had 9 quizzes last semester. Each quiz had 10 questions, so there was a total of 90 questions. Let's go back and review their correct answers. All right, so let's review the correct answers for the quiz titled The Printing Industry, A Basic Introduction. Question number 1. Labels that you use on cans and bottles, folding cartons, and other flexible packaging like wrappers, bags, and pouches, and corrugated boxes belong to what segment? Quick printing, publication, packaging, or commercial? The correct answer is packaging. Question number 2. What year did the printing industry peak in terms of the maximum numbers of establishments? That would have been 1995. It's been on a decline ever since. So 2005 would be a declining year. Question 3. An average or typical printer has a profit margin of about, well, it's very low. It's only about 3% or 3 cents on a dollar. That's not to say you can't have higher profit margins. Now that's an average, so that means there can be some that are higher and some that can even be lower. Question number 4. Newspapers, magazines, catalogs, and books belong to what segment of the printing industry? Well, that would be publication printing. Question 5. Currently, how many employees does the printing industry employ? Well, it was about 1 million back in 1995 at its peak, but now it's less, about 800,000, 900,000. Question 6. What percentage of the printing companies have 20 or fewer employees? The vast majority, it's probably 80%. 90% have 10% or fewer employees. 90% have 10 or fewer employees. Question 7. Currently, how many printing establishments are there in the United States? Well, in the peak, it was 65,000, but we've lost quite a few over the years. So about 25,000 printers. And question 8, what percentage of the printing gets mailed? About half. So that's why the USPS, United States Postal Service, postal rates are important, because quite frequently the mailing is more expensive than the printing. Question 9, in 2020, the Printing Industry of America, the PIA, and the Specialty Graphics Imaging Association, SGIA, merged and combined to form this new and largest industry organization. That would have been Print United. GATF is the old organization. Their name became PIA. FTA is the Flexographic Technical Association. They're still in existence. And ID Alliance is the parent organization of both SWAP and Grackle and the creators of G7. And question 10. Currently, the printing industry has a sales revenue of about $82 billion, I think is about right. $1.1 million, that could be a single company, right? All right, so let's save this and submit it and see what our grades are. Question 1 was correct, 2, so a green check mark, everything was correct. That must be about 444,000 employees. I made a mistake there. Okay, let's review the correct answers for the quiz Printing Process Technology. Question number 1. Most people have some exposure to digital printing because they have a desktop laser or inkjet printer at work or home. Well, that's true. Question 2. Variable data printing, or VDP, means that the ink film thickness IFT can be varied by varying the bit depth from single bit binary to multi-bit grayscale. Well, that's false. Variable data printing means every revolution or cycle you can print something different. It can vary. Question 3. Rank order the printing process to a run length quantity from least at the bottom to most at the top. Okay, this is confusing to me. This is not a well-worded question. Well, we know gravure is the longest, and that should be at the top. So you make that an A. And we know digital is the shortest, and that should be the least at the bottom, so make that a C. And offset lithography is in the middle. So digital is the break-even crossover point economically, financially, for digital is often quoted at 2,000 or 1,000 pieces. Gravure is for very long run lengths, hundreds of thousands, millions, or tens of millions. Okay, we'll go with that. Question 4. Which printing process uses an indirect image transfer to substrate? Flexography is direct, gravure is direct, screen is direct, digital is direct, Litho Press is direct, offset lithography is the only one that is indirect, and that indirect would be called offset. So here's the clue right here. Question 5. Match the following terms together. Litho Press, offset lithography, digital gravure, oldest, most popular, newest, and lowest quality. Okay, Litho Press is the oldest and smallest in terms of market share. Offset lithography is the most popular. Digital printing is the newest and the fastest growing. 1993 is basically when it came into common acceptance usage. And gravure is low quality text because everything is celled and screened, but it has the highest quality photographs because the ink flows together in the shadows. Question 6. Lithography is unique and different from most other printing processes in that the plate is, well, it's a flat surface, planographic, smooth. And non-image areas are kept separated by ink-water balance, so that's what chemistry, fountain solution. And the final image transfer is indirect offset by the rubber blanket. Okay. Question 7. Match the following inking terms to each other. Well, Flexo uses a analog scroll, B. Gravure uses a doctor blade, C. Screen printing uses a rubber squeegee blade, A. And offset lithography uses a roller train, D. Question 8. In lithography, the image on the rubber offset blanket is right reading, RR. Well, that's wrong. On the plate it's right reading, on the blanket it's wrong reading, and then on the paper it's right reading. So, right reading is false. On the blanket it's wrong reading, WR. Question 9. Which printing processes use a fluid liquid ink? Well, Flexo does and gravure does. Screen is thick and offset is thick. And finally, question 10. Which printing process uses a relief image carrier? Relief. So that would be, screen's a stencil. So gravure, flexography, Litho Press, not lithography and not digital. That should be fine. Okay, let's see how we did. Looking for the green check marks. All right, let's review the correct answers for the quiz print production workflow, the 3 Ps. Question 1. Put these tasks in order of early, middle, and late. Okay, so the very first thing you do is you make a proof. Then after you get the proof approved by the customer, you would make a plate. Then you would go to press and you would get the register to fit. And then after you get the register to fit, you would get the color to match. Now that you're done printing, you would go into the bindery and do your finishing. So you would trim, and finally you would fold. Okay. Question 2, match the process steps with the tasks. So you have pre-press, press, and post-press, digital, chemical, mechanical. Well, pre-press is almost all digital. Press is a chemical process because of the ink-water balance and how the fountain solution reacts with the plate and the ink. And then post-press, finishing, and bindery is all mechanical. Question 3, pre means before and post means after. In print production workflow, pre and post are relative and refer to what? Well, press. It's pre-press, press, and post-press. Question 4, post-press consists of finishing and bindery tasks. Which are common finishing tasks? Okay. Embossing, foil stamping, die cutting. Okay, now I'm a little confused here because are we asking about just finishing tasks or are we asking also about bindery tasks? This says just finishing tasks, not bindery. So to me, bindery would be stitching, folding, and collating, but finishing would be these three. Okay, so when you see squares here, you know it's a multiple answer question. All right, we're going to go with that. Number 5, which tasks are performed in post-press? Well, certainly trimming, folding, and stitching in position is done in pre-press. Question 6, which tasks are performed in the press room? Well, printing and getting register and color, putting down some type of a coating, whether it be a varnish or an aqueous, water base, mixing the spot inks. Embossing is a finishing operation. Question number 7. Workflow lists the process steps in sequence. Well, that's true. Workflow is what you do and when you do it. So when means sequence, order, timing. Question number 8. Which tasks are performed in pre-press? Well, plate making is, pre-flating is, and proofing is, but not folding. That's bindery. Question 9. Workflow lists what you do and when you do it. That's true. It doesn't tell you how to do it, and it doesn't tell you why you do it. So that's some of the criticisms of ISO 9000, is that it just tells you, tell me what you're going to do and do what you tell me you're going to do. It doesn't care about how you do it. And finally, question number 10, match the steps or tasks. We have pre-press, press, and post-press, inputs, process, and outputs. Well, pre-press is the inputs at the beginning, the start. Press is the process in the middle that does the conversion and transformations. And post-press is at the end when you finish and you're done with the outputs. So let's see how we did on this. Green check marks are what we're looking for. Good. That would have been 100%. Okay, let's review the correct answers for the quiz, Major Systems of the Printing Press. Question number 1. What cylinder is responsible for the indirect, intermediate, offset image transfer from plate to blanket? From plate to paper. Well, that would be the blanket cylinder. So for a fill in the blank, you just have to get the first few letters correct. That would be the blanket. Question number 2. The maximum machine run speed on a Ryobi 2800 and 3302 is 10,000 sheets per hour SPH or IPH impressions per hour. A modern 40-inch sheet-fed press would be more like 20,000 sheets per hour. Question 3. The biggest difference between a real printing press and a duplicator is duplicators can't print on smooth gloss coated papers. That's false. The different thicknesses of papers that they can print on, that's false. Metal bearings on the outside ends of the plate and blanket cylinders to smooth and even out the pressure, that's true. And the type of dampening system, that's false. Question 4. Printing on both sides of the sheet, top and bottom, in a single pass through the press is called perfecting. Question 5. Paper can be transported through a printing press either by individual cut sheets of paper, called sheet-fed, or by a continuous roll of paper called web. Question 6. On a sheet-fed press, the register system positions the sheet of paper accurately. To do so, it needs to physically contact how many edges of the sheet of paper. Now, it's not asking for how many points of contact it needs, which is 3. It's asking for how many edges. Well, you need the infeed, which is the gripper, and you need the side guide. So that's only 2 edges. 2 edges to form that perpendicular square right triangle. So the answer would be 2, not 3. Question 7. On a sheet-fed press, list the order of major systems from beginning input to ending output. Okay, well, you have to start at the feeder. That's number 1, A. And then you finish at the delivery, right? So that would have to be F. After you pick up a sheet, you have to register it. So that would be B. Now, this is a little confusing. Do you want to say the print unit first? Let's do that. Let's say dampening has to happen before inking. Then you ink. And then you transfer it to the blanket and the impression cylinders. So A, B, C, D, E, F. That looks okay to me. Question 8. ISO 2846, that's an advanced topic, states that the ink film thickness, or IFT, for offset lithography is very thin at, well, it's 1 micron. Very, very thin. A nanometer is even smaller than a micron. That's how we measure light waves. A millimeter is pretty small. So you go from centimeters to millimeters to microns to nanometers. That's 100. That's 1,000. That's a million. And that's a billion of a meter. Question number 9. Match the press system to its purpose or components. All right. Well, the feeder does what? It'll separate, lift, and forward sheets of paper off the printing pile. So that is C. What does the register do? Accurately positions the sheet of paper on 2 edges so it has consistent top and side margins. All right. So that would be D. What does the dampening do? The dampening is responsible for the lithographic principle of the plate, right? So ink and water don't mix, oil and water don't mix, so that would be E. Inking is, well, applies ink to the plate. B. The print unit consists of the plate, blanket, and impression cylinders. Okay, so that would be A. And what does the delivery do? Neatly jogs and stacks the sheets of paper as they exit the press. Okay. And question number 10. Most automation and technology on printing presses is for reducing the make ready, both the time and the materials. It's not for printing more colors. It's not for a wider sheet size, and it's not for faster production speeds. So let's see how we did. Looking for green check marks, and we got 100 on this one too. Let's review the correct answers for the quiz, position, and register. Question number 1. what means the ink image runs off the edge of the printed sheet? So that's called a bleed, or bleeding. Question number 2. Getting position means the printed image, inked image, is in the correct position on a sheet of paper, so has the internal intended top and side margins. Yes, that's correct. Question 3. The fastest and easiest way to check for correct position is to, well, using a ruler and measuring 2 margins is not easy. Folding the paper in half in both directions and aligning the folds with the printed bleeding center marks is what we do in lab, so that's correct. Lay the sheet over a film negative for alignment. Well, what if you're digital, CTP, you don't have any film negatives? Adjust the margin borders at the paper cutter. Well, that's too late, no good. Question 4. The side guide register is mostly dependent on how the paper pile rear tail back flat metal spring is set, just gently touching. Well, that's not for side guide. How the plate was hung or mounted, that's not for side guide. Evenness of the flush edge from jogging, absolutely. And how the plate was punched, no. Question 5. Which register adjustment can be made while the press is still running? Lateral side to side, because you have that micro adjustment, that knurled wheel. This you have to stop the press, and this you have to stop the press and take the plate off. Question 6. On a simple single color job, position and register are not important because you don't have to print a second color ink during a second press pass. Well, don't get position and register fit confused. So there's 2 types of register here: external, which is position, and internal, which is color to color. So on a simple single color job, position and register are not important. That's not true. That's false. It is important. 7. Match the direction with the adjustment. So if you want to make a lateral side to side move on the Ryobi 2800, you have to move the paper. If you want to make a vertical up and down move on a Ryobi, you have to move the blanket. And if you want to make a diagonal, rotational, angular move, you have to move the plate. Question number 8. To check that register is consistent for every sheet, you can, well, this does nothing for you. You could do this. Now notice these are squares, so it's multiple answers, not circles, which is multiple choice. Shingle the sheets to see if the bleeding register mark is in a single straight line without any bouncing. That's true. You would probably do this first and you would do that second. And measuring with a ruler is no good. Question number 9. With bleeding center register marks, the gripper edge is easily identified because nothing can print in that area or margin due to the mechanical fingers that bite or grab the paper. And then finally, question number 10. From just a single printed press sheet, you can determine that the side guide flat metal spring is not too loose or tight. That's false. If the position is correct, that's true. That the register is consistent and not bouncing, false. You need more than 1 sheet. And that the sheet did not bounce, false. You need more than 1 sheet. Okay, let's review the answers. And we're looking for the green check marks. Okay, not sure why that one was wrong. A little embarrassing when the teacher gets the question wrong. And if a student would challenge that, I would certainly have to consider it. Let's review the correct answers for the quiz woodcut line engraving. Now, this is a specific lab project, so it's not general. Okay, question number 1. Which pattern geometry is least detectable? Least detectable. Well, you can easily detect a zigzag or a wave. You can easily detect vertical at 90 degrees and horizontal at 0 degrees, but a diagonal slant at 45 degrees is not easily detectable. Question number 2. Photography is older than letterpress printing. That's false. Gutenberg, 1440 AD, and photography was the late 1700s, early 1800s. Question 3. Which statements, plural, are true? Lithography also applies water to the paper. Yes, because it applies water to the plate, and if it applies water to the plate, that same water gets applied to the blanket, which then gets applied to the paper. The image on a rubber blanket is relief. Well, that's false. That's planographic, flat, smooth. Ink sticks to wet surfaces. No, ink sticks to dry surfaces. Oil and water don't easily mix, don't readily mix. That's also correct. Question number 4. Relief means that there is no impression pressure. That's not true. Separation between image and non-imager is done chemically with water. Well, no, that's the definition of lithography. The plate is polyester, plastic, or aluminum metal? No. There is a physical mechanical height difference. Yes. 5. Which image will look darker? Lines that are wider or thicker? Yes. Lines that are thinner or narrower? Well, no, those would look lighter. Lines that are slanted at a 45-degree angle? No. Lines that are spaced farther apart? No, that would be lighter. Question 6. When trying to get an image to fit register, you may need to make what adjustment moves? Side to side, true. Horizontal, up and down vertical, true. And rotate angular diagonal, true. You might have to do all 3, or any combination of them. Question number 7. For the child woodcut line engraving project, very specific to this lab project, the lines are spaced apart at a distance of, I think it was 1/8 of an inch. It certainly wasn't 1/33 or 1/32 or 1/16. I think it was 1/8 of an inch. Easily detectable and visible from a normal viewing distance of 18 inches. 8. To make an image look more continuous tone, you can lower the resolution. No, you'd increase the resolution. Increase the viewing distance farther away. Yes, you could do that, but you want to be able to read it at a normal arm's length. Or a pair of reading glasses. Anybody over the age of 40 or 50 might have to do that. Make the image patterns, whether they be lines, spots, or dots, smaller and closer together. Yes, so you could do any of these 2 right here. Number 9, you add the fountain solution water bottle to the pan tray after the 2 dampening rollers are completely covered in ink. Well, that's true. After the feeder and delivery are set up? No. Before you hang them off the plate? No. And before the 2 dampening rollers are completely covered in ink. Oh, so this is after and this is before. You add the fountain solution water bottle to the before? No, because ink won't stick to the rollers if they're wet, so it has to be after. And number 10 here, a normal viewing distance for reading a book, a magazine, or a newspaper is about 18 inches. Okay, let's see how we did. And we're looking for the green check marks. Okay, I must have had that off. So I had the choices were 1/33, 1/8, 1/16, 1/32, so it must have been 1/16. Okay, let's review the correct answers for the quiz measurement, metrics, and prefix. Okay, question number 1. How many ounces are in 1 gallon? Well, there's 128 ounces in a gallon, and there's 4 quarts in a gallon. Question number 2. The maximum fastest speed on a Ryobi 2800 is 10,000 sheets per hour. And the maximum speed in the Ricoh digital copier is 65 pages per minute. The speed on the Ryobi is variable. You can go from slow to fast, and the speed on the Ricoh, you can't adjust the speed, but by changing the paper thicknesses for the diffuser toner heat, it may run slightly slower or faster. Question 3. Match the prefix to the printing term. Okay, micron is the size of an FM spot, an AM dot, or a laser toner particle size. Yes. A nanometer is a wavelength of visible light. So that would be from 400 to 700 nanometers. 4 to 5 is blue, 5 to 6 is green, 6 to 7 is red. Pico, that would be liquid inkjet drop size or volume, very, very small. Millimeter, well, that would be paper sheet size. So C. Question number 4. Match the temperature to the term. So below 32 degrees Fahrenheit, you become a solid, you are ice, you freeze. Above 212 degrees Fahrenheit, you boil, you turn into a vapor, gas, or a steam. Between 33 degrees and 211 degrees Fahrenheit, you are a fluid or a liquid. So that's room temperature. And 98.6 is the human body temperature. A, B, C, D. Okay. Question 5. The amount of light brightness at a distance 5 times away is, well, what you should know about this is the inverse square law. So inverse means it's getting smaller, and square, so if you're 5 times away, 5 squared is 25. So it's not 25 lux, it's not 25 lumens, it's not 25 candela. It's inverse square law, so it's 1 over 5 squared, so it's 1/25 or 4% of the light. So if you move something 5 times away from a light source, you're only getting 4% of the light. Question 6, how many seconds are in 1 hour? Well, there's 60 seconds in a minute, and there's 60 minutes in an hour. So 60 times 60 is 3,600. Or 6 times 6 is 36, and 10 times 10 is 100. Right? So let's just do a quick calculator check here. 60 times 60 equals 3,600. Okay, not a problem. And I've always encouraged my students to use their smartphones for the calculator to do those types of calculations. Question 7, match the inches to metric length. Okay, so 1 inch is what? Match the inches to metric length. 1 inch is 25.4 microns, where 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. Not microns, millimeters. 1 inch is 25.4 millimeters, or 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. So that's B. 0.04 inches, it's 4 hundredths of an inch, is what? 1 centimeter. All right. Okay. They don't sound too. Okay. Well, this is how I remember what a micron is. 4 zeros, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 4. So that would be 1 micron, A. Okay. And 10 millimeters is a centimeter. So I can't have D here twice. So 10 millimeters is a centimeter. Correct. That means this must be C. A, B, C, D. So 1/25 is 1/4. And because it's 100, yeah, that's right. Okay, this was a little challenging using mental math. But again, you could have used a calculator. Question 8. How many grams are in a pound? 453.6. This is pounds are in a gram. So this is pounds in a gram. This is grams in a pound. Question 9. Match the fraction with its decimal. Okay. Start with the easy stuff. 1/8 is 0.125. And half of 1/8 is 1/16, which means it's half of 1.25, which makes it 0.63. Half of a 16th is a 32nd, which means a half of 0.063 is got to be 0.0312. And half of a 32nd is a 64th, which means half of 0.031 must be 0.016. So this is half, 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 or double, double, double. All right? Okay. So fractions to decimals. And question 10, a computer hard drive HD can hold 1 terabyte TB of data. How many bytes is that? Well, this would be kilobytes. This would be megabytes. Kilobytes, megabytes, billion. I forgot. My mind just went blank. But trillion would be the T, terabytes. T for terabytes, right? What's a billion? Kilobyte, megabyte. Oh, I've just gone blank. All right, let's see how we did. Looking for the green check marks. I got 7.5 out of 10 points. I got something wrong on here. Let's review the correct answers for the quiz, solids, screens, and trap fit. Okay, question number 1. Which project used only solids, no screen tint? So again, these questions are very specific to laboratory projects that we did. So you can't answer these generally. You would have to have knowledge of that project. So the project used only solids. Skeleton was only solids. Autumn foliage had screen tints. Frosty the Snowman had screen tints. And the Scarecrow had screen tints. So which project singular? So why am I asking for multiple answers when there's only a singular answer here? Okay, question 2. Which projects, plural, did you register fit the internal image color to the external black outline border or the key line? The skeleton, yes. The Scarecrow, no. Frosty the Snowman, yes. Autumn foliage, yes. 3. Match the ink colors. Well, red is the combination of magenta and yellow. That would be B. Green is a combination of cyan and yellow. That would be D. Purple, which looks like, blue, which looks like a purple or a violet, would be the combination of cyan and magenta, A. And a brown or a black would be all 3 colors, C and Y. So we got an A, a B, a C, and a D. Okay, good. Question 4. A tint means that the color has become lighter, not darker, not a shadow, not more colorful or cleaner, because adding white actually makes it less colorful because there's less color there. Question 5. Which percentage dot size areas, plural, are screen tints? Well, 0 would be just paper. 100 would be just a solid. So those are wrong. So it would be anything between 1 and 99. So it would be a 10, which is a highlight, and a 90, which is a shadow. 6. Which images are normally solids? Well, most type in text, but they can be screen too. Screen tints, no. Halftone pictures, no. Mostly lines, rules, and borders, yes. Question 7. Which project used only spot color inks? The skeleton? No, because we used process there. Frosty Snowman used a spot red, a spot green, and a spot blue. Scarecrow was process. Autumn foliage was process. The skeleton was process. Question 8. Which project used only small spots, not large dots? The skeleton was AM dots. Autumn foliage was AM dots. Frosty the Snowman was AM dots. And the Scarecrow was FM spots. Question 9. Add the full fountain solution plastic bottle to the water pan tray only after you hang or mount the plate, first checking the front pin bar is straight and even, and the blanket cylinder, it has nothing to do with the fountain solution. The two last water rollers, the pan and the medium rollers, have been completely covered in ink. That's true. The ductor sweep for both the ink and the dampening water are set to 3. Not important. And the ink has been added to the ink fountain, which contains the ink fountain ball roller and a fountain blade. That's got to be done, but before that gets done, so that's fine. And question 10, which register adjustment or move is the easiest to make? Horizontal, side to side, diagonal, rotate the angle, vertical, up and down, or black ink color? Well, that's a color that doesn't have a register move. Vertical, up and down, you have to stop the press and move the blanket with the bolt and the wrench. Diagonal, you have to stop the press, take the plate off, and turn the knurl. So the answer is horizontal, side to side, because you can do this while the press is running with a micro adjustment. Let's see how we did. Okay, hopefully we're all green check marks for 100%. And we are. Let's review the correct answers for the final quiz in Litho Press 1, LP1. Question number 1. When two different ink colors are registered to each other, this is an example of pre-press trap. When one ink completely overprints another ink, this is an example of press trap. So the one word, phrase, term, trap has two different meanings depending on the context, two different definitions. Question 2. There are basically two types of images, solid or vector, and screen or raster. 3. A one-color job, black ink on white paper, has internal register or fit. No. It has external register or position, two margins, but it has no fit or internal register because it's only one color. Question 4. There are basically only 3 directions for a register adjustment or move: side to side or horizontal, up or down or vertical, and tilted angle or diagonal. Question 5. Trap has 2 meanings, one for pre-press images and one for the press room inks. Pre-press trap would have spreads and chokes, and press trap would be water dry. So if you're doing it separate passes, different passes, it's dry. If you're doing it one pass in line, it would be a wet trap. Question 6. There are basically only 2 types of ink colors, process or spot. Process uses CMYK, and spot is any Pantone color or PMS. Question number 7. There are basically only two types of register, either external or position, and internal or fit. Question 8. Process inks are used when you want to print a metallic like a silver, gold, a bronze, a copper, or fluorescent like a neon. Well, that's false. Question 9. Which register adjustment gets an image square or perpendicular on a sheet of paper? Vertical? No. Moving the paper or the blanket? No. Diagonal, angular, or rotational? Yes. Horizontal? No. And question 10, a screened image consists of an area coverage of what percentages, plural? Well, 100 would be a solid. 0 would be paper only. Either 0 or 100 would be paper or ink only, solid. So that's not it. So it's got to be between 1 and 99. Let's see how we did. And we're looking for the green check marks for correct answers. And we got 100% on this one.